All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. As today we're going to discuss the 49ers personnel and roster needs that potentially could be filled after the draft in free agency or in the undrafted free agent marketplace. So we're going to hit that. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Go say hi to Damon and Mary, get some brisket chili, and tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And of course, we're also brought to you by LearnKey Upskill Academy. They are sponsoring this video as well. Great news for Krug Show subscribers. Our sponsor, LearnKey, is offering a free cybersecurity course valued at $99. The course is titled Protecting Yourself and Your Organization. It's just a 1 hour long course. It will give you essential tips to keep you and your company safe online. It's a limited time offer, so don't miss out. Click the link in the description below on this video to claim your free course and start learning today at upskill.learnkey.com. And while you're leveling up your career with LearnKey's Upskill Academy, why not test your football brain as well? We're teaming up with LearnKey for a special April draft challenge where you can predict the top 12 picks in the upcoming draft for a chance to win a $100 Visa gift card. It's totally free to enter. Just fill out the Google form link below in the description and your predictions 1 through 12 for how the draft's going to go in the first round. Entries will be graded on how many correct player to pick matches you get. First place wins a $100 Visa gift card. Second place wins a $50 Visa gift card. Plus, both winners are going to get to come on the Krug Show during draft weekend. So hit the link, lock in your draft board, and let's see who really knows their draft. Good luck, and big thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy for sponsoring the Krug Show and this video and this contest. All right, let's talk a little bit about the draft and what happens, I don't know, how about after the draft? There's so much focus on the draft itself, but in reality, there's two marketplaces or two markets that have to kind of play out after the draft, and that is the undrafted free agent market and the remaining veteran free agent market. Why don't we start there? What can the Niners get out? I mean, because really a lot of people are like, well, all's left is the draft. And that's not true. They have the draft, they have the veteran free agents that are still out there, and then they have the undrafted free agents. And I would imagine the 49ers are going to be a big, big player in undrafted free agency because they've got roster availability. They got roster room. I mean, they've got room to take on some undrafted players to fill some holes. So let's go through it. First, we'll hit a couple of the veterans. Now, the veteran market's been picked over, and I've looked at it extensively. But there are two guys that I think are of extreme value on the perimeter that could really impact the season ahead for the 49ers. Those two guys are one's a corner and one's a wide receiver. Keenan Allen. Let's start with Keenan Allen, the veteran wide receiver, Bay Area guy. He's from North Carolina, but he went to Cal. He's had a really good career, and he's a very productive receiver. You're not going to have Brandon Ayuk. You need a receiver that can contribute right away. Rookie receivers rarely do that. Rookie receivers rarely contribute right away. I think the Niners are definitely going to be big players in the undrafted market at receiver. We'll talk about some of those names here in a second. But if you could add Keenan Allen to what you have, that would really help, offset the loss of Brandon Ayuk. I mean, the Niners have done it all wrong with Ayuk. I mean, they signed him. They played him a ton, even though he wasn't in great shape. He got hurt. I'm not saying that's why he got hurt, but he got hurt. And now it's probably in their best interest to sit him out as long as possible. And people are talking about it. He might be ready for week one. Why would you want him there in week one? This guy blew out his ACL, his MCL, his meniscus, all in one moment. I think you might want to let him rehab. I think it's in a realistic world where you're not rushing and you're doing the right thing for the receiver. I think Ayuk comes back in like the middle of November. So if the playoffs could be long gone by the middle of November if the 49ers can't win games. So you got to find somebody who you can put on the field, either a rookie that's very polished or a veteran. And Keenan Allen makes a lot of sense. You put Keenan Allen on the field, next to Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings, and now you got something. Now you're not missing Ayuk. Now you can take your chances in the draft and maybe hit and add that fifth receiver to the mix. So I think it's going to be really interesting. That's one, Keenan Allen. Now the other guy is on the other side of the ball on the perimeter, and that's Asante Samuel Jr., who's had some injury issues, and he probably has to be put through a physical or two to see if exactly everything checks out. But if he checks out medically, man, this is a guy in his prime. He's got great ball skills. Florida State produces some really good defensive backs. It'd be really nice to put Asante Samuel Jr., former Seminole, opposite Renardo Green with Demo Lenore. And if you had Samuel, Renardo, and Lenore, I think you got your starting corners. And now you can just look for backups in the draft. And now the corner position becomes, instead of a pressing primary day one or day two need, it becomes more of a secondary day two, day three need. And I think it's in their best interest. So those would be the two veterans that I would really have some interest in. Keenan Allen at wide receiver and Asante Samuel at corner. And if you could add those two guys, I think that would really allow the 49ers and John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to focus on their other primary needs: O-line, D-line, linebacker, running back, and really get big-time players and load up on those spots where they really need help, because you're not drafting a receiver and you're not drafting a corner because you're signing Keenan Allen and Asante Samuel Jr. So those are the first two names in the veteran market. But really, this video is more about who's going to potentially be there, who's a good player after the draft. And this is speculative, right? Because we don't know. We don't know who's going to be in love with all these prospects. For all I know, every single guy that I'm going to suggest here is going to be drafted sometime between the end of the 5th round and the end of the 7th round, because there's a lot of speculative guys. I mean, some of these guys I'm going to name are going to probably get drafted. Some of these guys I'm going to name are for sure not going to get drafted. But I'm looking at just kind of the boards and the different boards that are out there. And I'm looking at anybody who's ranked lower than like 275. If you're ranked, anywhere, there's 257 total picks in the draft. If you're ranked 250, 260, 270, there's a good chance you're not getting drafted. Anybody ranked lower than that almost is a lock to not get drafted. And anybody ranked in the 300s, 400s, 5, those guys are obviously not getting drafted. So there's a lot of players, and it's a really deep draft. Why? Well, because the NIL money and the COVID has given more. I mean, you gave players incentive to stick around by giving them an extra year of eligibility due to COVID, and then you introduced NIL resources into the mix. How about this? Riley Leonard last year made more money than Brock Purdy. Riley Leonard made more money playing for Notre Dame than Brock Purdy made for being the Niners starting quarterback last year. That's not some crazy thing. That's a fact. That's a fact. That is a fact. So you mix in the NIL and the COVID extra eligibility, and you got a lot of guys who've been in college a long time. And so you've got very deep drafts. This year and next year, according to the scouts that I've talked to, are going to be exceptionally deep drafts. To put it in perspective, the Ravens said they normally struggle to find 165 draft eligible prospects. This year they have like 230 or 250 or something like that. It's a lot. They got a lot more than they normally have. So 75 to 80 more prospects. What does that mean? That usually means that round 5, 6, and 7, and maybe even the undrafted market could be profitable and could be a place where you could pick off a number of players. So let's go through it a little bit. What are some positions that the Niners could address in undrafted free agency? Let's take a look at the deepest positions. I would say, first of all, running back. I think it's a very good chance that there's several good running backs that are available after the draft. I'll give you some of the guys I really like. Montrell Johnson from Florida. Don't think he's going to be drafted. Good size back with great speed. Love him. Absolutely love him. Joshua Williams from LSU. Really underrated back who really knows great instincts. Doesn't have home run speed, but he's a good back. Good, solid running back. Played in the SEC. Good player. Corey Kiner played at Cincinnati. Lan Larison played at UC Davis. A lot of people like Lan Larison. Ulysses Bentley from Ole Miss. Marcus Carroll from Missouri. Quentin Cooley from Liberty. There's a bunch of interesting names here. Shanderick Powell from Central Arkansas is one of my favorites. This guy runs in the 4.2s, electric return guy with just unbelievable speed. And a great kid, too. Jalen White from Georgia Southern, I think, is a really intriguing running back. So, I'd like to see the Niners get a couple backs. Maybe one they draft and one they get on day 3. Maybe one they draft, maybe one they get after the draft. But Shanderick Powell, Joshua Williams, Montrell Johnson, I mean, these are good players. I mean, these are really good NFL players. I mean, they're going to play in the league. I think wide receiver, is going to be a position for the 49ers that, I don't think the wide receivers are going to go high in this draft. I think they're going to fall. And I think there's actually a pretty exciting array of day 3 wide receivers. And if the Niners are looking for a day 3 wide receiver with some speed, which I think is probably what they are looking for, there's going to be a lot of options here. Arian Smith from Georgia, maybe the fastest receiver in college football. He doesn't have great ball skills. He's not a great receiver. But if you're just looking for somebody to run off the coverage, wow. I mean, Arian Smith can absolutely fly. Keandre Lambert-Smith, who finished up at Auburn, the Penn State transfer. Pretty good sized receiver who ran 4.37. Played this year caught balls for Peyton Thorne. Keandre Lambert-Smith, KLS, he's pretty good. Ricky White III from UNLV is a really good player who also had 4 blocked punts this year, so he can help you on special teams. The duo from Ole Miss, everybody loves Trey Harris, but how about Antoine Wells Jr.? They call him Juice. Or Jordan Watkins, who I think is a phenomenal player, ran in the 4.3s, had an 8-catch, 254-yard day against Arkansas earlier this year. I love Watkins. I think Watkins, who looks kind of a running back build, but he's a terrific receiver. There's Nick Nash from San Jose State, who's at the Niners local pro day. There's Sam Brown from Miami. There's Efton Chisholm III, who played at Eastern Washington on the red turf. The Niners brought in a player named Kanata Mumfield from Pitt, who's a pretty good player. Daquan Felton from Va-Tech is big and fast. Mario Williams, the SC kid who transferred to Tulane. All that guy does is score touchdowns. Andrew Armstrong from Arkansas is a good player. Rock Taylor from Memphis is a good player. I'm a big fan of Elijah Badger from Florida. I see a lot of Juwan Jennings in Elijah Badger. Except he runs a better 40 time, but he's aggressive, tough, physical. He'll go fight for the football. I really like him. And I love Zachary Franklin, the receiver who was at Texas San Antonio. He finished up this year for the Illini. Zachary Franklin does not run well for the stopwatch. He's not a burner, but he's got great ball skills and he's super smooth. So, I mean, if you needed a receiver, you might be able to just do okay by waiting until the end of the draft and signing Rock Taylor and Mario Williams, or signing Keandre Lambert-Smith and Jordan Watkins, or signing Nick Nash and Zachary Franklin, or, I mean, there's just guys out there. Receiver is a very, very deep position. As far as day 3 goes, with day 3 guys, I don't think it's a great year for receivers on day 1 and day 2, though I do like Luther Burden quite a bit. But the day 3 receivers are still there. Why? Because everybody's running the spread. So you've got a lot of receivers coming out, and almost in every particular draft cycle is going to have a lot of receivers. It's not a vintage year for receivers, but I just named a bunch of guys that potentially can make NFL rosters who are going to be undrafted, or day 3 guys. Tight end is another spot. I mean, there's a lot of people say, hey, maybe the Niners will get the Penn State tight end, Tyler Warren. They may not take any tight ends and just wait till after the draft. Why? Because there's some really good undrafted tight ends, most likely staring you in the face. Thomas Fedone from Nebraska is intriguing. Jalen Conyers from Texas Tech by way of ASU. He was at the Niner facility the other day. He was a college teammate of Ricky Pearsall. Conyers, I think Conyers gets drafted, but he's probably going to be a 6th-round pick. Jackson Hawes went to Yale. Very smart. You got to have smarts to be a tight end in this offense, with all the shifts and motions and all the different things you got to remember at the line of scrimmage. And a guy like Hawes is a blocker, but he's got pretty good hands. And he played in the Ivy League, and then at Yale, and then transferred to Georgia Tech and look good. Carter Runyon is an interesting prospect. My buddy's kid, Dominic Mazzotti, who played at San Jose State and UMass, is interesting. Jermaine Terry from Kennedy High School in Richmond is interesting. Rivaldo Fairweather from Auburn has got really long arms and a lot of talent. So tight end could be a spot where the Niners go, hey, you know what? We want to get a tight end or two, but we're not going to draft one. We'll take Jackson Hawes and Rivaldo Fairweather and sign them after the draft. So offensive tackle is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be one of those things where you either have to get an offensive tackle in the first round or in the first 2 rounds or 3 rounds. Like I like, Dane Brugler's idea of Anthony Belton in round 3. I think that was my idea. I mean, that's what I've been saying for 2.5 months. Go defensive line in the first round, go offensive tackle in the third round. But then you look at some of these developmental tackles, and it's suddenly a kind of an interesting group. I mean, Jalen Travis is a huge, huge man. Iowa State offensive tackle. Carson Vinson from Alabama A&M, one of the HBCU schools. I love the fight and determination of Carson Vinson, and he's 6'7", 314 pounds. Caleb Rogers moves really well if you want movement ability. Miles Hinton, really interesting prospect who went Stanford to Michigan, probably could be a swing tackle. Caleb Etienne from BYU is a huge bodied tackle who could be there late on day 3. There was a guy at the Niners local pro day named Esapole. Esapole is, played at Wazoo, didn't even play football till Chabot, but he's kind of an intriguing guy. So, I mean, there might be a day 3, tackle that falls into the undrafted market. Offensive line wise, there's other guys. Garrett Dellinger, Javontes Scraggins from Tennessee, Marcus Ware from Montana State, Thomas Perry from Middlebury, Willie Lampkin from Carolina. These are all, guards or centers, interior players that are probably going to be undrafted or could be there late on day 3. Let's jump over to the defensive side of the ball. I think defensive tackle is an incredible year for defensive tackle. I'm looking at the list of defensive tackles that are unlikely to be drafted. And if the Niners didn't get any defensive tackles and just signed a couple of these guys after the draft, they might be okay. I mean, seriously, they might be okay. First of all, you got the nose guard. You got Desmond Watson, who's 464 pounds, and he's more of a novelty. But Nash Hutmacher, who's also got a wrestling background from Nebraska. I loved what Hutmacher and Ty Robinson did at Nebraska this year. Then Georgia's got Nazir Stackhouse. They're saying he's going to be 7th round or undrafted. Cam Horsley from Boston College, really strong, active, probably going to go undrafted. Thor Griffith from Louisville, probably going to go undrafted. Notre Dame's Howard Cross III, whose dad played for the New York Giants. Good interior, one-gap penetrator, pass rusher. They're saying undrafted. Simeon Barrow from Miami, same thing. A lot of talent, one-gap penetrator, probably not going to be drafted. Warren Brinson from Georgia. Love him. 310 pounds. Niners met with him. Junior Tafuna from Utah. Keontae Hamilton from Rutgers. Eric Gregory from Arkansas. Fatorma Mulba. Ricky Barber. Tonka Hemingway. Elijah Williams from Morgan State. I'll tell you one guy you guys got to keep your eye on, and he's a defensive tackle. He's probably more of a defensive end, to be completely honest, is Davin Vann for NC State, who's just all he does is win. He rushes the passer and gets home from a tackle spot. He's like a powerful edge rusher or like a situational tackle. He's kind of an in-between size, but man, the guy can go get the quarterback. Day 3, they can fill the linebacker spot. Kane Medrano. You heard, Dane Brugler say how much he likes Kane Medrano. I love David Benda from Texas. Aaron Smith from South Carolina State. Chandler Martin from Memphis. Casey Osai from Louisiana. I mean, there's a lot of guys here. Jalen Walker from Indiana. Bam Martin Scott from South Carolina. So there's just a lot of interesting players at linebacker. That's a really deep position. And then I would say corner. Corner might be a spot the Niners could find somebody on day 3. They brought in Bilal Kone from Western Michigan. He's intriguing, but there's B.J. Mays. There's James Burgess from Alabama A&T. Mac McWilliams from Central Florida. Upton Stout from Western Kentucky. Shamari Simmons from Arizona State. Jabbar Muhammad from Oregon. Ryan Clark's kid, Jordan Clark, is small, but he's a good player from Notre Dame. If you want a zone corner, Fentrell Cypress the second from Florida State might not be bad. Melvin Smith, Kendall Bowler. I mean, there's guys. So I would say in this draft, if the Niners can't find a corner, if they can't find a linebacker, if they need an extra defensive tackle, if they're looking for an extra developmental offensive lineman, a tight end, a receiver, a running back, I think they're all potentially needs that could be solvable after the draft. And even the quarterback spot, are the Niners going to draft a quarterback? I'd like to see him draft a quarterback. I'd love to see him take Riley Leonard. And on day 3 of the draft, I see a lot of special traits in Riley Leonard. I think he's got more arm than a lot of people think. But as far as the quarterbacks who are projected to go undrafted, there's some really interesting ones. Cam Miller from North Dakota State. I love that kid's tape. I mean, he really looked good. Seth Hennigan. I thought the Gruden quarterback school with Seth Hennigan showed that Hennigan is incredibly accurate, and he's got almost a photographic memory. So, I mean, he is really the Memphis quarterback. He played big in big moments, came away with the game-winning touchdown pass to Jack Besh in the Senior Bowl. He's a little quiet, and it was like Gruden needed to kind of jumpstart him. But, man, his recall and his ability his brain power and his accuracy is off the charts. Brady Cook ran a faster 10-yard split than Brock Purdy. We marveled at Brock Purdy's 1.54 10-yard split. Brady Cook was 1.53, and he's 6'2", 215 pounds. So, he's intriguing. Peyton Thorne. I know a lot of people don't like Peyton Thorne, but as an undrafted quarterback whose dad and grandfather were football players, I mean, I think he could be an interesting guy to compete with Tanner Mordecai. The wild card is this kid Taylor Elgersma, who played 12-man football for Laurier in Canada. But he's big and strong. He's 6'6", he's got a gun. So I would say if the Niners don't get what they want, quarterback-wise, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, defensive tackle, linebacker, or corner, you know what? There's going to be some interesting guys out there after the draft. And then don't forget, Keenan Allen's still out there if you need a veteran receiver. Asante, Samuel Jr.'s out there if you want a starting caliber corner. That's the other one. If the Niners don't get a starting caliber corner, maybe a guy like Asante Samuel is somebody they will pursue. There's also going to be a number of players, and every team's a little different, but some teams cut their players early. Some teams wait until they draft replacements and then cut players in June. So there will be another group of players kind of lopped off in June, and we don't know who they'll be. But the Niners potentially could have interest in some of those soon-to-be free agents. But the draft is vitally important. The Niners have 11 picks, but they're probably going to sign, I would say, 5 to 10, maybe more, undrafted players. And just looking at the depth of linebacker, defensive tackle, running back, wide receiver on day 3, cornerback in some situations, quarterback if the right guy falls. There could be a lot of really interesting undrafted free agents, and the 49ers with a lot of roster needs, roster holes are going to be, guys go where they either get money or opportunity. And the Niners have shown that they haven't spent a lot of money in free agency, so they definitely have a lot of money to spend in the undrafted market if they so choose, and they have tons of opportunity. So look for the 49ers to be big players in the undrafted free agent market as soon as round 7 ends on the 26th of April. All right, that does it for us for this video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to LearnKeys Upskill Academy for sponsoring this video. Sign up for the NFL Draft Contest. The links are in the description below. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.